is a demonstration of the end of the course of the radial nerve in the upper limb. Radial nerve is the thickest branch of the brachial plexus. The root value is the C5 to C8 and T1 segments of the spinal cord. Course. In the axilla, radial nerve lies against the muscles forming the posterior wall of axilla, that is the subscapularis, teres major and the latissimus dorsi. It then lies for a short distance in the arm behind the brachial artery. Then it enters into the lower triangular space between the teres major, long head of triceps brachii and shaft of humerus. It gives two muscular and cutaneous branches in the axilla. In the radial sulcus, the radial nerve enters to the lower triangular space in the radial sulcus, where it lies between the lateral and medial heads of triceps brachii along with the profunda brachii vessels. Long and lateral heads form the roof of the radial sulcus. It leaves the sulcus by piercing the lateral intermuscular septum. In the sulcus, it gives three muscular and two cutaneous branches. The course in the front of arm is as follows. The radial nerve descends on the lower and lateral side of the front of the arm, deep interval between brachialis on the medial side and brachioradialis with extensor carpi radialis longus on the lateral side to reach capitulum of the humerus. In the cubital fossa, the nerve enters the lateral side of the cubital fossa. There the radial nerve terminates by dividing into superficial and deep branches. This is the superficial branch and that is the deep branch. The deep branches supplies extensor carpi radialis brevis and supinator. The deep branch, that is the posterior interosseous nerve, supplies extensor carpi radialis brevis and the supinator. Then it courses between the two heads of the supinator to reach back of forearm. In the front of forearm, the superficial branch leaves the cubital fossa to enter the lateral side of the front of forearm, accompanied by the radial vessels in its upper two-thirds. At the junction of the upper two-thirds and the lower one-third, the superficial branch turns laterally to reach the posterolateral aspect of forearm. In the wrist and dorsum of hand, the superficial branch descends to the anatomical snuff box to reach the dorsum of hand, where it supplies the skin of lateral half of dorsum of hand and lateral 2.5 digits till distal interphalangeal joints. The back of forearm and wrist. The deep branch of radial nerve, that is the posterior interosseous nerve, enters the back of forearm, where it supplies the muscles. The deep branch of radial nerve enters the back of forearm, where it supplies the muscles abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, extensor pollicis longus, extensor digitorum, extensor indicis, extensor digiti minimi, extensor carpi ulnaris. The branches of the radial nerve. The muscular branches in the axilla include the branches of the long head of triceps brachii to the medial head of triceps brachii. In the radial sulcus, it gives off a branch to the lateral head of triceps brachii and the medial head of triceps brachii. It also gives a branch off to ankles. In the lateral side of the arm, it gives off a branch to brachioradialis and the lateral part of brachialis. Branches of the deep division of radial nerve, that is branches of the posterior interosseous nerve. Muscular branches in the cubital fossa are to the extensor carpi radialis brevis. The branches of the superficial division of the radial nerve are the cutaneous and vascular branches. In the forearm, it gives a cutaneous branch to the lateral side of forearm and to the radial vessels. In the anatomical snuff box in the dorsum of the hand, skin over the anatomical snuff box, lateral half of dorsum of hand, and lateral 2.5 digits till the distal interphalangeal joints. The articular branches of the superficial division of radial nerve are to the wrist, first carpo-metacarpal joint, metacarpophalangeal joint, and interphalangeal joints of thumb, index, and middle fingers. The branches of the deep division of radial nerve, that is the posterior interosseous nerve, gives off the following muscular divisions: to the extensor carpi radialis brevis, and the supinatum. In the back of forearm, it gives the branch off to abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, extensor pollicis longus, extensor digitorum. The articular branches of the posterior interosseous nerve are to the inferior radioulnar joint, wrist, and the intercarpal joints. Now this is a demonstration of the cutaneous branches of the radial nerve. On the anterior surface, it is supplied by the lower lateral cutaneous nerve of arm. In the following, it is shaded as the color pink. On the posterior surface, it is supplied by the lower lateral cutaneous nerve of arm. Posterior cutaneous nerve of forearm, and the radial nerve in the following given section.